Welcome to My Life. We're here this week with Jackie Bambousek. We were with her husband Jerry last week, talked about his life, and she said, well, I want to talk about mine too. No, she didn't. It took a lot of convincing. But we talked her into it. And I have to bring this up. I did with Jerry too, as I recall, but you guys were monarchs of the heart, I believe, a couple of years ago around here, weren't you?
Yes.
What was to explain that, what was that all about?
Well, they have a dance, and a band comes in, and people, all the residents here vote on a couple for king and queen, the snow dance.
So you got to wear a crown for a while.
So, yeah, I still have the crown. They didn't...
You still wear it every once in a while?
Oh, I wanted to give it back.
Just to remind Jerry who's boss?
They did. I should. We had to give the robe back that he wore. But I had to give the crowns. We kept the crowns.
Ah, you had to give the robe back. Oh,
yeah,
that's a bummer.
because that gets passed.
Oh, it gets passed on? Okay, very good. Well, just to go over your life a little bit here, you were a registered nurse for over 40 years.
Yes.
You retired from Crittenton in 1993.
93.
And you've lived in Oxford now for right around 12 years.
Correct.
And of course, we've already mentioned you're married to Gerald, and you've been married to him it'll be 61 years later this year.
October 1st.
Well, that's great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I want to go back to where you were born. You were born in Cleveland, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And were you born on the outskirts of the city or right down closer in? Or?
We were born on the west side of Cleveland.
West side of Cleveland.
We always lived on the west side. My dad's folks lived on the east side, but we always lived in a 4-bedroom home on the west. And it was there up until they took it with the freeway, came in through the area and tore down the house.
How long ago was that?
That must be about 90. It's been about 40 years.
Well, it was after your family had moved
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they moved my mother and aunt out, and they moved to Sheffield Lake, Ohio, where they had a summer cottage fixed over into a home.
Oh.
So...
what did your father do for a living?
My father was a wholesale poultry he had.
Really?
Newman Poultry. Yeah, and he would... I'd always hear him on the phone calling Indiana and so forth, ordering coops of chickens.
Did he have to do a lot of traveling himself? Or?
No, he'd just call and have them come in. He had a place down in downtown Cleveland.
So
and
did he deal directly with the farmers?
It was like an Eastern market.
Yeah.
They had one down in Cleveland.
So did he deal directly with the farmers
yes.
to purchase them, and then
yes.
he would resell them
to the
grocery stores and whatnot?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And we used to go down and feed the chickens. That in his place, he'd have all the chickens in their coops waiting to go. Did
you get to participate in any of that?
Yeah, just to feed them. We got to, when I was just young, like 6, 7, 8 years old.
He didn't have to keep, well, you were living in the city. He couldn't keep chickens around the house there at all.
No.
Yeah.
No.
What about your grandparents? Did you know any of your grandparents?
I didn't know my mother's mother and father. My grandmother had died before I was born. My grandfather lived with us till I was about 3 years old, and he died in our house.
What did he do for a living? Did you ever find out?
I don't know. I don't remember what he did. He came from Ireland.
So he was the first one here?
Yeah.
What was your maiden name?
Newman.
Okay.
So, and then my dad died when he was only 59 years old, so. But my dad's mother and father lived on the east side of Cleveland, and they also was in the wholesale poultry business.
Oh, so that's where he got it from,
That's
eh?
where he got it from, my grandpa.
But you didn't know those grandparents, did you?
Yeah, we used to go over there every once in a while. See, my mother's family was all Catholic, and she married my dad, who was Jewish. And so we would go over for special dinners and things like that, but we didn't get real close with them. They didn't really.
You know,
They liked us and everything, but we never really.
I respect that situation because I was raised in a similar situation, although my mother was Catholic, my father was Lutheran.
Oh,
Since you were dealing with a Catholic Jewish, that's even a bigger stretch between a couple of religions, I
Yes.
think.
yes,
And back in those days, that was a tough one.
it was.
That divorce was another tough one.
Yes,
You just didn't
yes.
see it all the time.
Yes.
But how did that work out for you?
It worked out fine. We would go and visit, and he would pass out his silver dollars when it was Seder time or dinner. And a couple of times I went to the temple with my grandmother. Women had to sit upstairs and the men downstairs. And we would go a couple of times. But as a whole, we didn't really do much with them, only to go and
Socially.
visit.
Yeah. So how did that work out religion-wise? Did you end up being an active Catholic, or? We lived with my aunt, who was a maiden aunt. She never got married. She was always going to be a nun. And so she lived with us all my life. And then when my dad died, it was just my mother and her that lived together. Mm-hmm.
So she was a pretty strict Catholic, so I used to go to church with her
I
on
see.
Sundays. So I knew the Catholic religion best of all. But then when I married Jerry, I went Congregational or Protestant.
But that was a real great expansion of your horizon as far as religions go when you were small, being exposed to the Jewish faith
Yeah.
along with the Catholic faith.
Yeah, yeah. But I didn't really notice that much.
It was no big deal
No
to you.
big deal,
That's amazing.
And they were very religious, and of course they believed in God just like we believed in
Sure.
God, so we never had any problems.
So there was a lot
know.
of mutual respect
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Where did you go to school first? Grade school?
Grade school, I went to McKinley Elementary School. It was about a mile away from our house.
Was it a big school?
Yes, it was a pretty large school, just about the same as they have now.
Okay.
It was pretty good size. We walked to school every day. And then after that I went to junior high, Wilbur Wright Junior High.
Okay. We'll get back to that in just a minute. We need to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be right back with Jackie Bambousek. Back with Jackie Bambousek. You were talking about getting started in grade school down in Cleveland, but something came to my mind as you were describing. I just have to ask you about having Jewish and Catholic grandparents. In my mind, I always think about food. In my mind, there are some great menu possibilities there.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember some great dinners?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Chicken matzo soup. And my mother would pick up the recipes from, his mother.
Sure.
And she would make the paprikash chicken, and we had a lot of chicken. I guess all about the same as what we have.
Mm-hmm.
But we still make the same things as we did years ago.
I have to ask you, do you have any idea how your mother and father met? I mean, being they were of different faiths and everything, was there an interesting story there, or?
I don't think so. My mother did secretarial work, and I think they met when he had his business and she came over to apply for a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she worked for him for a while, but then my sister and I came along, and she never worked then anymore.
Mm-hmm. So there were the two of you and your
Yeah,
sister?
just my sister was 17 months older than I was.
What do you remember about what you did for fun in grade school?
Oh, we used to play outside. We'd play baseball in the street in front of our house. And we'd play kick the can. And then when we got a little older, we had a field at the end of our street, about 3 houses down. And we would play baseball there. And then when the war came, they built a warden's building right. We had a vacant lot next to our house, and they built one for the, what did they call them? Wardens? Air raid wardens.
Okay.
The air raid wardens,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd climb up on the roof of there and sit and think we were great up there. Yeah. And,
Now, would this have been, well, you would have been in grade school in, what, the late 1930s? Is that about right or not?
yeah, I was born in 34,
Oh, okay.
so 40s, yeah, and then
Was there
42.
do you have any memories of the Depression at all? I mean, I know that had been going on
Yeah.
for a while by then.
No, my father was pretty well off. We never thought about spending money or anything
He was a
like that.
successful businessman.
He was successful, though my mother taught us to be thriftful, and we had the coupon books at the time for buying shoes and sugar. We had to ration those. But no, I never knew much about we just never knew that there was a depression going on,
Yeah.
really. And when we'd go to the shows, we never liked to listen. They'd always have the news on first before the show. We never cared to listen to the news even.
Yeah. So
So we never,
when they first started talking about the war going on in the late 30s, you would have been still in grade school.
yeah, in 42.
What went through your mind? Did it even faze you of what was going on? or-
No, we worried about my dad might have been drafted, but he was a couple years too old to be drafted.
Mhm.
And no, we used to use cans. Any cans, we'd smash them together. You'd save all our cans to. I don't know where they'd take them to, someplace for
That was
the
part
medal,
of
for medal
war
for
effort?
the war effort,
Yeah.
and the tin foil would make in big balls and send them somewhere. But we weren't really seemed interested in what was really going on.
Yeah,
you know?
well,
when
you
you
were
were
still
young.
quite young. Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't as though you were worried about being drafted or anything then.
No.
What year did you start high school? Do you remember?
Well, I must have started, my husband Jerry graduated in 48, and that's when I started. I went into the same high school, West Technical High School. When he left, I started. We're 4 years apart.
Did you guys know each other at all then?
No.
Oh.
We didn't know each other. His sister was my best girlfriend in high school. And I saw pictures of him, but I never knew him because he was in the service, and then he went to Colorado University. So when we graduated from high school, it was a technical high school, so no one really of my friends were going on to college. They were all getting married, it seemed. So his sister was getting married after high school and wanted me and Jerry in the wedding. So she told Jerry to call me up and try to get to know me a little bit. So we went out on our first date, and that was it.
Let's talk more about high school. You say it was a technical high school.
Yes, my mother said, I always wanted to be a nurse, but my mother said, I want you to take shorthand and bookkeeping and pentameter and typing and all that. And then after you graduate, if you still want to be a nurse, she'll send me to, we'll go on from there.
I've heard that advice before.
Yeah, yeah. So I took shorthand and bookkeeping and pentameter. I worked at a department store downtown doing the pentameter. And I still wanted to be a nurse, but I wanted to be a nurse at the 3-year nurse at the hospital. I wanted hospital, I didn't want college. And they wanted to send me to a college for, university. And I said, no, I wanted the 3-year program.
Had either of your parents gone to college?
No. My mother went to business school after high school.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But that was a very prominent thing back then,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
business school. That's what most of her family went to, the girls.
Yeah. What made you want to be a nurse? Did you know a nurse, or?
No, I don't know why I really wanted to be one. I didn't know any nurses, but that's what I wanted to be,
Did you play any sports in high school?
No, though I was really more of a tomboy. I played baseball and that, but not for the high school or anything. Girls didn't do much of that like they do now. We didn't have really basketball and for girls and baseball.
Okay. I want to pick up on that in just a moment. We need to take a break right now. Hang in there. We'll be right back. Back with Jackie Bambousek here at Independence Village, talking about high school. Mm-hmm. What was the name of your high school again, please?
West Technical High School.
West Technical.
It was on the west side of Cleveland.
Okay, so you're living in a big city.
Mm-hmm.
There had to be a wealth of social opportunities for you in Cleveland while you were in high school. What did you do for a good time?
Now that's something. I don't know. In high school, we called it a sorority, but it was the sub-debs, and it was a group like a sorority, and we would invite the Sigma Chi's or whoever else to dances, and we would have dances. And at our school, we had the Harbor Inn, which was a room where they played records, and you would go and dance. And so dancing was really the social life. And partying with, my girlfriends.
I should have asked you this before, but I just happened to think, well, what did your folks like to do for a good time socially? Did they have a lot of friends they socialized with, or?
They had a few, but mainly they would go down to Florida every year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are we talking
vacation? Just a
week
vacation.
or two, or?
Yeah, up for a week or two. And my aunt was there at the house, so, they could leave and have a good time. They used to fly here to Detroit to go shopping. It used to be the big thing, that they'd go and shop at Macy's and that.
Really?
Yeah, stay overnight and then come back.
Did you say you went to Florida? Did you get to see Cypress Gardens while it was still Cypress Gardens?
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was nice. And then since I've been married and we were snowbirds for 18 years, Jerry and I, and we would go down to Florida for 6 months. So we saw that then too.
So obviously you liked Florida.
Yeah, but my dad would take us down to Florida to Miami Beach for the holidays. It would be New Year's Eve.
Did you have a lot of friends that you met down there?
No, we just stayed at the hotel and did our thing,
Mm-hmm.
But it was nice. We'd celebrate Christmas at our house, and my mother's, my aunts and uncles would come. And
was that Christmas? Was it was it a touchy thing, being the difference in faiths?
no,
or?
my dad didn't care. My dad went along with everything, We never had anything kosher or anything like that, and he ate the pork, and he did he just was very carefree about it all, that it didn't bother him at all.
Okay, so you're getting close to the end of high school. What year did you graduate?
In 52.
1952. Well, we had the Korean War going. What kinds of things were going through your mind as you got close to graduation?
No, not much. I had a boyfriend in the Navy at the time. And
So you and Jerry were
and-
dating when you were in high school?
no,
No.
we didn't meet until after the first year of nurses training.
Gotcha. Right.
So I was free. I dated. I had a good time.
When did you start thinking seriously of going to nursing school?
Right after I graduated. I started in September. I graduated in June. And I started nurses training right away at the hospital, not that far away from us, a couple of miles. And
What was the name of it?
Fairview Park Hospital. It's
And they-
now Fairview Hospital, and it's a big teaching hospital now. And we stayed at a resident hall down the street for the first year because we were on like probation. You had probation first, and then once you got through the first year, you got your cap.
Did you live on premises there?
The second year, then we did. First year, we were a block away, and we would walk to the school.
Did you have trouble talking your folks into that, seeing as how they wanted you to go to a 4-year college?
I did with my dad. He wasn't happy of me going to stay a block away from the hospital. It wasn't in the best of areas. And our house mother, she had big rosy cheeks. And she came to the door, and my dad said, "I don't think I'm going to leave you go here." but she turned out she was fine, and no, they accepted. But I said to my daughters now, when they both wanted to be nurses, I said, you go for the 4 years, because the 3 years are, they don't have that much
Sure.
anymore. It's either 2 or 4, and I wanted them to get their degree.
So you've got other nurses in the family.
Oh yes, my 2 daughters
Yeah.
both graduated from Michigan State, and that's where they met their husbands.
Now, what about your sister? What did she didn't go into nursing, did she?
No, my sister was always executive secretary of some of a paint company one time, but she was always real good at shorthand and that, and so she was always a secretary.
Was she older or younger than you?
Older.
Okay.
Older. And she died a couple of years ago.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so right after you started nursing school, just as you were getting going, this was your first experience in kind of a new area.
Mm-hmm. Being away.
What was going through your mind?
Being away from home.
Being away from home and living where you were?
Yeah, it was kind of hard at first, but I wasn't that far away from home, you know. I was only like maybe less than 10 miles.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to stay at the home, nursing home, you know. And I had a roommate. I had 2 roommates, and we always had a good time.
Did they put you through any challenging events, when you were brand new at the nursing school? Was there a hazing or anything like that?
No, I don't think so. No. I can't remember anything that was... the first year was a rough year for me because the other girls and there was a couple of boys in there too in my class, but they all had chemistry. So I came in there not having chemistry and not knowing, So I had a rough time of it the first year. It's really buckling down and studying for classes. We didn't work the hospital until the second year. And then we were put on the floor as med-surg nurses.
Yeah, I want to pick up on that. We're coming to the end of our first program with you. I think we've got a lot more ground to cover here, so we're gonna pause it right here with Jackie Bambousek. The end of episode 1, but we'd invite you to come back to hear more. Thanks for joining us on My Life.
Canine Stray Rescue is Oxford's own local dog rescue. Each year they take in hundreds of dogs and bring them into suitable homes. A certified nonprofit organization, Canine Dog Rescue strives to give pound dogs a new leash on life. To donate, adopt, or even volunteer, call them at 248-628-0435 or go to their website, dogsaver.org, and click on the Canine Stray Rescue League